Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into, I think a pretty pivotal moment in the crypto world,
Oh, yeah.
the launch of Pi Network's Open Mainnet.
Hopefully a big one.
Yeah, for those of you who haven't been following along, this basically means that after years of development, Pi is transitioning from a closed network to a fully tradable cryptocurrency.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is that this isn't just another coin launch. Pi
Yeah.
Network has always aimed to be different, focusing on accessibility and mobile mining.
Right.
It's attracted millions of users, they call them pioneers, who've been diligently mining Pi on their phones, often facing skepticism from the broader crypto community.
Yeah, they were definitely seen as the underdogs for a while.
For sure.
But they just launched their Open Mainnet on February 20th, 2025. And there's a lot to unpack here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious, what were some of the specific technical hurdles Pi Network had to overcome to get to this point? I know it wasn't always smooth sailing for them.
Well, one of the biggest challenges was developing a consensus mechanism that could work efficiently on mobile devices. Remember, most cryptocurrency mining requires powerful computers,
Right.
but Pi wanted to make mining accessible to anyone with a smartphone.
Yeah, anyone could get involved.
Exactly. And they ended up creating this novel consensus algorithm called the Stellar Consensus Protocol,
Okay.
which is designed to be lightweight and energy efficient.
Right.
This was a key innovation that allowed them to achieve their vision of mobile mining.
So for our listeners who might not be familiar with the term mainnet, essentially means the main blockchain network where actual transactions take place, right?
Exactly. Before the mainnet launch, Pi existed on a test net, sort of like a sandbox environment for development.
Right.
The open mainnet launch means that Pi is now a live functioning cryptocurrency that can be traded on exchanges.
And speaking of exchanges, we've seen Pi listed on Bitget, OKX, and Gate.io.
Yep, those are some big ones.
What's the significance of these listings, especially for a relatively new cryptocurrency like Pi?
Well, for any cryptocurrency to succeed, it needs liquidity, which means there need to be enough buyers and sellers to facilitate smooth trading.
Makes sense.
Getting listed on reputable exchanges like these is crucial for establishing that liquidity.
Sure.
It also adds a layer of legitimacy to the project. Exchanges have listing criteria, so getting listed suggests they've vetted Pi to some extent.
Okay, but I have to ask about the elephant in the room here. The rumors about a potential Binance listing.
Yes.
Binance is, of course, the largest cryptocurrency exchange globally.
Huge.
How might a Binance listing impact Pi beyond just the hype?
Well, a Binance listing would undoubtedly be a major coup for Pi.
I bet.
It would expose the coin to a massive new audience of potential investors and traders.
Right.
Binance is known for its high trading volume, so a listing there could significantly boost Pi's liquidity and potentially drive up its price.
Of course.
But beyond that, it would also be a huge signal of validation. Binance is very selective about the cryptocurrencies it lists, so getting listed would be seen as a stamp of approval, further solidifying Pi's position in the market.
So, to be clear, even without a Binance listing, this open mainnet launch is already a significant achievement for Pi Network.
Absolutely. It marks a turning point for the project, moving from a development phase to a live functioning cryptocurrency.
Okay.
It'll be interesting to see how the community utilizes Pi now that it's freely tradable and transferable.
Right.
This could lead to the development of new applications and use cases that we haven't even imagined yet.
And for our listeners who might not be deeply ingrained in the crypto world, why should they care about this development?
Good question.
What makes the launch of Pi's open mainnet potentially noteworthy, even for those who aren't pioneers?
This launch could signal a shift in how we think about cryptocurrency accessibility and adoption. Pi's focus on mobile mining has potentially opened the door for a wider audience to participate in the crypto economy. It raises important questions about the future of finance and whether a more inclusive model is possible.
I see.
Is this the first step towards a world where owning and using cryptocurrency is as common as having a bank account?
Wow.
That remains to be seen, but it's a development worth watching.
It sounds like Pi Network is really trying to challenge the status quo in the cryptocurrency world.
Oh, yeah.
But let's play devil's advocate for a moment.
Okay.
What are some potential downsides or risks associated with Pi's model that we should be aware of?
That's a great question, and it's important to consider all angles here.
Yeah.
Well, one potential risk is that Pi's focus on accessibility could lead to centralization. Since mining is so easy, there's a possibility that a small number of users could accumulate a large proportion of the Pi coins.
Right.
This could undermine the decentralized nature of the cryptocurrency, which is one of its core tenets.
That's a valid point.
Mm.
I've also seen some critics question Pi's underlying technology. They argue that the Stellar Consensus Protocol might not be as secure or robust as other consensus mechanisms used by more established cryptocurrencies.
That's a debate worth having for sure. It's still early days for Pi, and the technology will need to be rigorously tested and scrutinized as the network grows. Another challenge they might face is regulatory uncertainty.
Yeah, that's true.
Governments around the world are still grappling with how to regulate cryptocurrencies,
Right.
and Pi's unique model could attract additional scrutiny.
It's interesting because they seem to have cultivated a really strong and passionate community around the project.
They have.
I remember when Pi first launched, there were a lot of skeptics who dismissed it as a scam.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
But the developers were very transparent about the development process, engaging with the community, and addressing concerns head on. It seems like that transparency really paid off.
Absolutely. Community is everything in the crypto world, and Pi Network has managed to build a truly global and engaged community. That's a valuable asset, especially in the face of challenges and skepticism.
So let's imagine for a moment that Pi manages to navigate these challenges successfully. What are some potential real-world use cases for Pi? Beyond just trading on exchanges, how could people actually use Pi in their everyday lives?
That's where things get really interesting. Because Pi is designed to be mobile-first and user-friendly, it has the potential to be used for a wide range of everyday transactions.
Like what?
Imagine being able to pay for your coffee, your groceries, or even your rent using Pi on your phone.
Interesting.
We could see Pi being integrated into e-commerce platforms, social media apps, and even gaming ecosystems.
I've also read about the Pi network exploring the use of smart contracts.
Yes,
Could you explain what smart contracts are and how they could potentially expand the use cases for Pi?
smart contracts are basically self-executing contracts that are stored and enforced on the blockchain.
Okay.
They can automate complex transactions and agreements without the need for intermediaries. For Pi, this could open up possibilities for decentralized finance applications such as lending, borrowing, and crowdfunding, all powered by the Pi cryptocurrency.
It definitely seems like there's a lot of potential for Pi to disrupt traditional financial systems. But let's not forget, we're still in the very early stages here.
We are.
There's no guarantee that Pi will achieve widespread adoption or become the next Bitcoin, as some proponents might hope.
Right. It's important to approach this with a balanced perspective. The crypto market is notoriously volatile and unpredictable. And as with any investment, there are risks involved.
Speaking of investment, there's been a lot of buzz about the potential for Pi to increase in value, especially if it gets listed on Binance.
For sure.
But beyond the price speculation, what are some other metrics we should be paying attention to when evaluating the success of Pi Network?
The price is certainly one indicator, but it's not the whole story. I'd say it's more important to look at factors like active users, transaction volume, developer activity, and the development of real-world use cases.
So essentially, we want to see evidence that Pi is being actively used and that the ecosystem is growing organically.
Exactly. That's what ultimately determines the long-term viability of any cryptocurrency.
You mentioned earlier that Pi's unique model could attract regulatory scrutiny. Do you think governments are likely to embrace or resist a cryptocurrency that aims to be so accessible and widely adopted?
That's a tough question to answer. Governments are still trying to figure out how to regulate the space, and their approaches vary widely. Some countries are more crypto-friendly than others. It's possible that Pi's emphasis on transparency and compliance could make it more palatable to regulators. But it's also possible that its potential for mass adoption could raise concerns about financial stability and control.
It's a bit of a tightrope walk for them, isn't it?
It is.
They want to encourage innovation, but also protect consumers and prevent illicit activities.
Exactly. It'll be interesting to see how this regulatory landscape evolves and how Pi Network navigates those challenges. But regardless of the regulatory outcome, one thing is clear.
What's that?
Pi Network has already made a significant impact by challenging the conventional notions of what a cryptocurrency can be and who can participate in it.
It's definitely been an exciting journey for them so far, from humble beginnings to a fully launched open mainnet with millions of users. They've come a long way.
For sure.
But as we've discussed, the journey is far from over. There are challenges ahead, but also immense potential.
Absolutely. It'll be fascinating to see how Pi Network continues to evolve and whether it can truly live up to its vision of creating a more inclusive and accessible digital economy.
So for our listeners who might be thinking, okay, this all sounds interesting, but what does it actually mean for me?
Hmm.
What would you say to someone who's curious about Pi, but not sure what to do next?
Well, the first step is to educate yourself. Do your research, read about Pi Network, its technology, and its vision. There's a wealth of information available on their website and in their white paper.
And if they're interested in getting involved, they can download the Pi Network app and start mining Pi themselves.
Yeah.
It's free and easy to do, and it's a great way to experience firsthand what all the excitement is about.
Exactly. And even if they don't end up mining Pi, I think it's important for everyone to stay informed about these emerging technologies and how they're shaping the future of finance.
Because whether we like it or not, cryptocurrency is here to stay.
It is.
And it's going to continue to disrupt and transform the way we live and interact with the world.
And who knows, maybe Pi Network will be one of the key players in that transformation.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, from the technical details of Pi's open mainnet launch to the potential impact on the future of finance. But there's one more aspect I'd like to touch upon, and that's the philosophical side of Pi Network.
Oh, that's an interesting angle. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, one thing that strikes me about Pi is that it seems to be driven by a very idealistic vision. The idea of creating a more inclusive and equitable financial system where anyone with a smartphone can participate is quite compelling.
I agree. It's a vision that resonates with a lot of people, especially in parts of the world where access to traditional financial services is limited. Pi Network has managed to tap into a desire for a more democratic and decentralized form of finance.
Yeah, it almost feels like a social movement in some ways, right?
Uh-huh.
A movement to empower individuals and challenge the established financial order.
Yeah, that's a very astute observation, and I think that's part of what makes Pi Network so fascinating. It's not just about the technology, it's about a vision for a more just and equitable world.
It's like they're trying to build a new economic system from the ground up,
Right.
one that's more inclusive and accessible to everyone.
And that's a powerful idea, an idea that has the potential to disrupt not just finance, but many other aspects of our lives.
So, dear listener, as we wrap up our deep dive into Pi Network's open mainnet launch, we want to leave you with a final thought. We've explored the technology, the potential challenges, and even the philosophy behind Pi Network. But ultimately, the question of whether Pi will succeed in achieving its ambitious goals remains open.
Does.
It's up to each individual to decide whether they believe in the vision and whether they want to be a part of this unfolding story.
A story that's still being written.
We encourage you to continue your own exploration of Pi Network and the evolving world of cryptocurrency.
It's a fascinating world out there.
Because the future of finance is being written right now, and it's a future that we can all help shape.
That's right.
Until next time, keep diving deep and keep questioning everything.